Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Really excited to get to sit down with you guys again to talk about some sport creative content. I hope you guys are doing well. And today's video is going to be a really interesting one because we're going to be talking about transitions in sport videos. Recently, I've been getting a lot of DMs and questions about how I use transitions, what effects I use, what techniques I use to create transitions within my video content. And I think it's a really interesting and important opportunity for me to sit down with you guys about transitions, and one of the most important transition techniques that I use within my videos, and that I think that everyone universally should know about and try to implement in some way or another in your video edits. Before we get to that though, if you guys are new here, my name is Juan, and I am a sport content creator from Toronto, Canada, and my YouTube channel is exactly about that. I want to help people grow in the sport content field. I want to learn from people. I want to teach people my techniques, what I've learned. This is a place where I'm going to talk a lot about my work and my career, and hopefully be able to help some of you guys and interact with you guys on your journeys as well. So if that's something that interests you, make sure to drop me a like, make sure to hit me up with a subscribe. It would really help me grow. And without further ado, we're just going to get straight into today's topic, which is a technique which I really feel is important for everybody to hone in on. So like I said before, lately I've been getting a ton of questions through my DMs on Instagram lately, with people asking me what transitional effects and what techniques do I use to use transitions within my videos. And I find a lot of people talk about presets and, overlays, and don't get me wrong, I'm prey to using those too, and I love using them. There's some crutches that I go to time and time again, but there's one specific technique that I really want to talk about that will instantly improve the way you edit your videos, regardless if it's sport content or not. But I think it is even more prevalent in sport content because of the power that this effect has. And since getting those questions, I've kind of taken a step back and really looked at the way I edit videos and really focused in on how I order my clips and sequence my clips instead of just putting everything together and adding a bunch of effects and calling it a day. I think it's really important as an editor to take a step back and understand why you're editing a video and why you're putting clips where, and understanding the basis behind sequencing and understanding how a sequence is built. And so today I want to discuss and show you guys the most important and effective transitional technique that I use within my videos, and how you can guys start implementing this into your video edits as of right now. So the transition we're going to talk about today is the match cut. It doesn't sound very fancy, and it's not really the flashiest effect out there, but it is arguably the most important technique and skill that I've learned during my time as a video editor. So what is a match cut, and how can you use it? How can you use it to improve your videos and also improve on your editing techniques and the current transitional effects you may apply in your work? Match cut transitions are essentially cuts in your edit that allow you to match two or more shots in sequence, but the interesting thing about them is that they use elements that go from one scene to another that fluidly allow the viewer to go clip to clip without being jarred or surprised by the results. This automatically will result in an easier viewing experience for whoever's watching your video, and at the same time it allows for a flow to be built within your video edit. In sports, I think match cuts are super effective when you're matching clips that have the same type of movement in them, or the same type of camera movement when you're shooting, or even the same composition or actions that the players or the athletes in your videos might be doing. This can involve player movement and their actions within the frame. This can involve the way the camera is moving when it's capturing the action. It can also include different angles and different looks at the same action that an athlete might be doing. I think match cuts allow you to be way more flexible and creative when you're editing and you're sitting down and really piecing together your sequence. And I think they also really dramatically enhance visual effects, transitions, presets, whatever you use. I think using this technique at first to build your sequence will allow those effects to be a lot more pleasing and natural to the eye, and won't be taken aback, because underneath that layer you have a technique, you have a transition that already makes sense and that you don't really need a preset on top of. And I think that's the really beautiful thing about match cuts. You can leave it as a straight cut and it's so organic and so powerful in on its own that no one's really going to question why there wasn't an effect or a transition placed upon that sequence. I think video editors by nature get caught into the rabbit hole of throwing on visual effects and overlays and presets because it's easy and allows for a quick transition when you might not have the time to. But I think it's really important to sit back and understand that even a simple cut underneath all those presets, overlays, whatever you throw onto your video sequence can really make or break an edit in so many different ways. In essence, the match cut is so powerful on its own that it can stand by itself as a simple cut, or it can dramatically enhance and improve any effect that you add on top of it. Alright, enough of me rambling. Let's get on to the edit bay. Let's hop on Premiere, and I want to show you guys some examples and how I use match cuts within my editing workflow. So this video was one I did very recently for Ryerson's women's basketball team for the athletic department, and this was a video I really wanted to give a clean look to. I wanted to minimize the number of effects that I use on this video because it was one of the first practices of the year, and I really wanted to show the hustle and the hard work that these girls were putting in on the court. So the biggest thing for me was minimizing the effects that I was using and using match cuts as the main transitional technique within the video edit. So let's hop in, I'll show you guys how I did it and some ways you guys can apply this in your videos. So we're gonna break it down here in Premiere Pro. This is the timeline. This is the project file that I did for Ryerson women's basketball team. We're gonna break down the clip first, and then I'm gonna show the clip in its entirety so you can really see the difference and how important match cutting is in this scenario. So right now, we're gonna skip ahead here to halfway, just a little over a quarter into the beginning of the video, because there are sequences that I wanna talk about first, and we'll break some of the other ones down. I also turned the audio tracks off. There is music, there's effects under this. I just didn't want it to distract anybody. The first clip I have, the first sequence of the clip I want to break down is these quick cuts of the girls running, starting out their workout, making some layups here. And the really important thing that I want to emphasize in this sequence right here, we're going to cut it there and come back here, is movement in your clips and how important movement in your clips and your camera movement can really establish a way for you to use match cuts in your editing. So the biggest thing here, we're gonna start with the actual action within the frame, within what I shot. It's these clips of the girls running right here. So match cutting, again, is sequencing clips using elements that they have in familiarity to add a flow, to add a certain flow and ease of use to the sequence that you're showing the viewer. And here there's several ones. Just sequencing the girls running one by one, especially these two clips here. The frame is relatively close. One is a full body shot, one is a medium shot. But when we transition from 1 to 2, it's easier for the viewer to understand that this is the beginning of the video, the girls are putting in work, but at the same time, you're not changing your perspective. It's easy to see because the movement in the frame is essentially going left to right. And that continues on when you're changing into the shoes, to this player right here making a layup. All the movement is equally going left to right, left to right, left to right. Here's another one, and she finishes it off where the other one's in. These clips are here to start the movement, and these two here are to finish that sequence of right to left movement. This one switches it up a bit because I deviate from match cuts in the rest of the sequence for a little bit, because obviously in a perfect world, you're not gonna have all your clips going from left to right. You do have to change it up. But for the biggest thing here, all the movement in the frame is going left to right. There's no change in it. There's no sudden change. Even here, the layup, the next clip is still going left to right. She does switch it up here. I have to change the angle. She makes a bit of a different move going to the basket, so I have to change. But relatively, everything in the clips is left to right. The same thing applies here with the camera movement. As the action in the sequence goes left to right, I am panning my camera left to right. If you have a locked off camera, you can sequence the clips left to right. If it's locked off and there's no movement, that would look great, but I think this is a plus here. It's not just the actual action in the camera frame that I'm shooting that's left to right, but my camera is physically moving left to right, which also adds that continuity, that flow to the clip here when you see the girls going up to make their baskets. And then ultimately this last one, she stops up, changes the flow a bit, and then you're gonna notice later on, this is a full clip. There's no match there. But I think for that beginning sector right here, I really made a focus of left to right movement, the girls moving. And I think even the compositions, I changed a little bit because I still want you to see different things. And I think the detail is important. It goes from, kind of a quarter body shot to a full body shot to the shoes, to a full body shot of her doing a completely different action after the movement. And I think it's really important to be able to, when you're doing match cuts, to mix in different compositions if you want, mix in different actions, especially when you're focusing on movement, whether it's the camera or the actual shot that you took. Feel free to mix in different compositions, feel free to mix in different looks, but at the same time, movement is so important within match cuts because it adds that flow, it adds that, point A to point B look, and it just looks visibly good. It's easy to follow with your eyes. You're not being tracked to a different side of the screen at all. It's just left to right, left to right, left to right. It's super easy to see, it's super clean, and it kind of masks the original cut. If you watch this, you wouldn't be jarred after just seeing the cuts without effects over top. So that first sequence that we broke down, I think, is a really good example as to how you can use match cutting to match camera movement or movement in your frame in order to add a seamless flow and, a movement within your video that your viewer can follow. And it's not just crazy cuts all over the place. They make sense and they add up to a sequence that is easy to view and watch. This next sequence that we're going to break down from the video is one just analyzing the actions, and it's going to be taking a look at how you can mimic several camera angles to make it look like one sequence is just one shot and one action and on its own, when in reality, you're going to notice that this was two completely separate different camera angles and two completely several different shots of the same player doing the same action. So let's get in here right now and I'll explain that really quickly. So we have B here lining up for a shot, and we're going to play it through here just so you can see the sequence work. So, Premiere decided to freeze. So in this sequence, what we're going to be matching here, we have B getting ready to take a shot here, and we'll play through it. All it is a shot of her taking a shot and making a basket. But when we go back and really look at the clips, the first clip is a front angle of her lining up the shot, and then it'll cut to the back angle. The thing is here, the action is the exact same, but if I zoom in here, you'll notice the file names are completely different. This is COO72, this is COO75. So these clips in essence are two entirely different clips that I shot within a certain proximity of time. And I think that's really important when you're trying to do match cuts. If you can shoot for the edit, it makes your life so much easier. When I was shooting this practice, I knew I wanted a shot of her from the front shooting the ball, and then I wanted to match it to a side back angle here, 45-degree angle of her, the exact same shot with a make following the ball through, and then the end of the clip is her reacting. But as you can see, these two clips come from the same shot out of camera. This is a completely different one. And I think the biggest thing here to understand is the positioning as to where I make the cut. You can see right before I make the cut here, her hands, one hand is underneath the ball and one hand is lining up the shot. Same thing here, her hand is underneath the ball. So in essence, you wouldn't know the difference if you didn't look at the timeline. To a lot of other people who watch this clip, I tell them to look back on it and I explain to them it's a separate shot. They don't believe me. It looks like I have multiple camera angles. It looks like we shot this practice with two. Realistically, I was the only one shooting this practice. So this is the big thing about match cutting. You can match actions to mimic different camera angles of the same look. So again, we'll go through it here. She's lining up to take the shot. Camera switch to camera angle B. So essentially you go from shot A to shot B. There's the make, and then shot A again of her kind of post shot running to get the ball or to see her teammates or whatever. And I think that's the really powerful thing about match cutting here is understanding you can mimic different camera angles. You can mimic different looks just by using one or two clips that are similar in action, just such as taking a basketball shots. And you can apply this to dribbling, you can apply this to dunking, you can apply this to any other sport, whether it's volleyball and someone spiking the ball, or hockey, someone taking a slap shot. If you have two shots that look very similar in terms of the action, and the angle is forgivable and you think you can pass, you can mimic two different camera angles, no problem. And I think that's the power within match cuts here. So once again, camera angle A, her taking the shot. Now I cut exactly where the hand is in the same position or as close as possible. Shot B, shoots the ball, releases the make, and then shot A once again to show her reaction after the shot. So showing the same action and mimicking it with other shots that have the same action will really allow you to use match cutting to sequence your clips in a way where your audience thinks that you had multiple camera angles and you had different looks at one action, when realistically it's two entirely different shots matched up together to mimic one action. So the last type of match cutting we're going to talk about is matching the composition of your clip. We talked about movement, we talked about actions, and I think a really effective thing you can do is you can match the composition of your shot. If you have two shots that look the same,
you can easily cut from A to B, and it's not as jarring for the viewer because they just saw something very similar, so their brain doesn't perceive that sudden cut, because you're looking at two very similar visuals within your shot. So we're gonna hop back in here. This is going to be from the beginning part of the video, from the sequence to start off the video, a bit of a slower montage. We're just going to go through it here, and you're going to notice right away the composition here is all of medium close-up shots of the girls just right before the practice starts, and then you have the earlier sequence when they're running. So going back here really quickly, the beginning of the video is essentially all matched. So the players are, like I said, a medium shot or a medium close-up. So you have B here at the beginning. It's kind of a medium close-up, and then I zoom out and it cuts to the next girl. And again, medium close-up, her waist up, whatever you want to call it. It's very similar. They're kind of in the same area of the frame, and it's easy for the viewer to not get jarred by the sudden cut. There's no overlays. There's nothing on this video to hide that cut. But then you have Coach here. She's a little bit of a different angle of the video, and maybe that was kind of up to me. I should have maybe matched it up, or you kind of see here my shoddy handheld camera work puts her in the middle, and then you have Lakey here. Again, similar positioning, middle of the frame, waist up. You have Emma here, middle of the video, waist up. All the girls are essentially lined up in the same look, it's the same positioning. Nothing is crazy out of the ordinary. And then the last one is where I kind of break the rule, just simply because I like the rack shot I did. But for the most part of the opening sequence, you have a medium shot, you have a medium shot again, another one of Coach, medium shot, and a medium shot. And it's a very simple sequence. It's just several medium shots of the girls right before practice getting ready to go. But at the same time, it's not crazy jarring. I don't go from a super, super wide to a super, super tight shot. I'm keeping the composition of the shot type the exact same, and I think that's the beauty of match cutting. It's not also just the actions and the movement. The compositions can be matched, and it makes for a very easy viewing experience. And you can kind of notice here, right, the first shot of the video is it's a 4x3, but it's a wide shot of the arena, and it's very sudden jump from a wide shot of 3 or 4 of the girls shooting around right before practice to kind of a close-up medium shot on B here. But then again, you go from medium, another medium shot, and they're all waist up kind of area. And I break it here again. I liked that rack focus, but even then, that's still a close-up medium-ish shot, a bit closer, so it doesn't entirely break the rule. But if I was to go from here, from the first sequence where it's a wide all the way to here, it's very jarring, it's very abrupt, and that's when viewers are kind of like, what's going on here? Like, what are we seeing? So I'm gonna play the video in its whole for now, in its entirety, for you guys now, so you guys can kind of see how this all adds up and at the end comes together as a solid product.
And that kind of does it for today's video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys took something away from it if you didn't know about match cuts, and you can really appreciate and start to love this little but very powerful technique for your videos. And like I said before, you could even add film burns or glitch effects onto your transitions to your cuts now, and it'll just make it so much cleaner and so much better and easier to view. And I think it's a technique every video editor should have in their bag at some point or another. Like I've said before, I would appreciate it if you guys showed some support. If you guys like this type of video, if you guys enjoy kind of the behind the scenes of my sports content, please give me a subscribe, hit the like button down below, drop me a comment, show me some love, send me links as to the videos you guys might use this technique. I would love to watch. But until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.